Okay, I think we're live. I'll get started in just 1 minute. We'll wait for some more people to join us. All right. So there is a chat feature that's enabled. So if and when you join, you're welcome to chat in anything that you want to. I won't necessarily see it as I'm teaching, but if you want to say anything during the class, you can chat it in. I can't see you, so I don't know how you're practicing, but you can see me. That being said, take care of your body, do what you need to do. If I say something that doesn't work for your body, please feel free to modify. Please feel free to do things differently. And my name is Lacey. So before we get started, I'll just read you a quick paragraph about Hands to Heart. So Hands to Heart Center is Boston's only nonprofit yoga service organization. Hands to Heart Center serves Boston's most vulnerable communities, including students in high poverty schools, homeless men, women and children, women living in domestic violence shelters, children with special needs, adults in treatment for substance abuse disorder, veterans, migrant communities, people who are incarcerated, and much more. Hands to Heart Center shares the healing benefits of yoga with those having the least access to it and those who would benefit from it the most. So, for our class today, you don't need any props. If you do have either a blanket or a jacket or a towel or something to sit onto, you could take a seat onto that. And we'll get started seated. So we'll start in a seat. Again, if you do have something to sit down onto, you can take it underneath you to create maybe a little bit of a taller spine. If it's not comfortable to sit on the ground, you could also sit in a chair if that feels better in your body. And then you can choose where to place your hands. They might be facing down onto your legs, or you might take a hand to your heart, maybe the hands stacked one on top of the other at the heart. And you might close your eyes or soften your gaze. And you might start to turn your awareness inward. Maybe allowing the mind to settle as you bring your thoughts into the body. Maybe just taking inventory, noticing how your body feels. Notice anywhere in the body that might need a little extra love, a little extra care today. If the shoulders are tense or tight, maybe you just broaden through the collarbones a little, allowing your sternum to lift towards your hands. And maybe you invite your mind's eye into the breath. So you could begin to watch each inhale and each exhale. Maybe just noting where your breath is moving in your body. You could keep the exact same pattern of breath that you have already. Or you might play with a little more of a diaphragmatic breathing. So maybe inviting the breath lower into the belly in a way that doesn't feel forced, still feels natural. Maybe inviting your breath to become a little lighter, a little lower down, and a little slower. And again, if that doesn't serve, you can always breathe in the most natural way. If your hands are on your heart, you might invite the chest to be still so that only the belly is moving with breath. Take just a few more rounds of breath here on your own. And if your eyes are closed, you can blink them open. Take an inhale to reach your arms up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, draw your hands back into your heart. We'll take a few more rounds of breath like that. As you inhale, reach your arms up. As you exhale, draw your hands to heart center. Inhale to lift. Exhale, hands come into your heart. Take a few more rounds of that breath. You can move as fast or as slow as feels natural in your body. So you may be a little faster than me, maybe a little slower than me. Again, I can't see you. So you're moving the arms in a way that serves the body. Take just about 3 more rounds of breath. Next time your arms are reaching up, you can keep them reaching up. Good. And then maybe cactus your arms, drawing the elbows out wide, lifting through your heart. Reach your arms back upward. And then cactus through your arms. A few more like that. Reach the arms back up. Cactus the arms. And reach them up. And then cactus the arms. Last time, reach your arms up. And then cactus through your arms. Good. Reach your arms up. This time we'll twist towards the left side. So one hand might tint down onto the ground if you can reach for it, or it could come to your low back if not. Your second hand could come to the outside of your knee. And then can you allow your spine to become a little longer here? Maybe breathing into a little more length. Slowly unwind through the body, reach your arms back upward. And then we'll take a twist to the right side. One hand can come to the outside of the knee. Second hand could come to the ground or to your low back. Good. Feel the movement all the way through the body. So even though you're in stillness, can you notice any movement that's created by breath? Slowly unwind the body back through center and then lower your hands back down. We'll come forward into tabletop, taking the hands, the knees onto the ground. If you have a blanket, you could slide it underneath your knees. If you have a towel, you could do so, or a jacket, maybe something to pad up the knees. If you have none of those things, that's okay. We'll come forward onto hands and knees. You can stack your wrists underneath your shoulders. Your knees can come underneath your hips. And know that what I say, again, is always optional. So if this doesn't feel good in the body, you don't have to take it. Before you start to move the body here, just notice where you are in space. So notice the spreading of each of your fingers. Maybe grounding each knuckle pad downward. Notice where the legs are. Maybe you feel the tops of the feet become a little heavier. And then you might stay here in stillness, or you might start to invite gentle motion through the spine. Maybe inhaling to draw your sternum forward, maybe lifting your gaze up just a little. And then maybe exhaling to press your hands into the earth, creating a spreading action across the shoulder blades. Good. Maybe an inhale to draw the heart forward. And then maybe an exhale to round into a cat spine. And then you can continue to explore those movements, either linking them to breath or not. Noticing where you feel sensation here. Continue to invite your awareness into the body, into how it feels to move, how it feels to breathe. You could stick with these cats and cow shapes, or if there are other movements that you like to explore, you might take a few C curves of the spine, maybe gazing over each shoulder, allowing the ribs to expand, or maybe it's something else. Take just a few more rounds of breath. And when you're ready, you can come back into a neutral spine. We'll take child's pose from here. So you can walk your knees a little wider, maybe taking them towards the edge of your mat if you're on one. Bring your big toes to touch, and then lower your hips down to your heels. Your forehead might lower down onto your mat. And if this isn't comfortable, you could always stay in tabletop. If it does feel grounding to do so, you might invite your hips a little heavier onto your heels. You might invite your upper body to soften a little, to ground into the earth. You're welcome to stay in child's pose for a few more breaths. If you'd like to take a downward facing dog, you could tuck your toes under and then lift your hips up to the ceiling, creating a V shape with the body. Your hands might be about shoulders width apart. Your feet might be about hips width, maybe a little wider, if that creates more stability in your body. You could have straight legs, or if it feels better to do so, you might invite a bend into your knees. Just notice what feels best in your body here, whether that's legs straight or bent. Good, and then lower your knees back down to your mat, coming back into tabletop. From here, extend your left leg back behind you. You can keep your toes tucked onto the mat and start to rock your weight a little forward and back. Feeling the weight of your body shift. Notice any sensation all the way down the left leg. Good. You might stay with the foot grounded, or you might float the foot off the ground. And then you might stay right there, or you might reach your right arm forward. Notice the sensation through the body as you do. Notice what you can do to stay a little more stable, to stay grounded, to stay in center. If your right hand is lifted, you can lower it back down. Draw your left knee forward to step it towards the front of the mat. And it doesn't matter whether your foot is to the inside or the outside of your hands, just notice what's most comfortable in your body. You could stay here, or if it feels better for the back knee to do so, you might scoot your back knee back just a little so you're not applying too much weight onto the kneecap. And then you might tint into your fingers to lift your heart a little. You could stay here in this lunge, or you could straighten through your front leg, maybe drawing your toes towards your body, drawing your hip over your right knee. And notice what sensation that creates through the left leg. Again, you could stay here, or if you'd like to move back and forth between these two movements, you could come forward into your lunge and then back into a straight left leg. Maybe just taking that 3 or so times. Good. Well, stay forward next time you're bent into your left knee. You could stay with your hands down, or you could climb them up to the left leg. You could stay right there, or if you feel balanced, you might reach your arms up. Notice how that shifts the sensation in the body. Good. Take another breath here. And then slowly lower your hands back down. Step your left foot out, heel toeing it back, all the way into tabletop. We'll take a round or two of cat and cow again. So you might inhale to draw your heart upward, maybe lifting the gaze. And you might exhale to round your spine, maybe moving with your own breath. We'll do that again. Inhaling, the heart lifts into cow. Exhaling, you can round into your spine. Good. Come back into a neutral spine. And this time, lengthen your right leg back behind you, keeping your right toes tucked underneath you. You might stay stable, you might not move, or you might begin to rock your weight a little forward and back. And again, notice how this shifts sensation as you're rocking, or if you're choosing stillness, notice where the sensation is. Good. Come through center. Maybe you lift the right foot off the ground. And maybe you stay here, or maybe you reach your left arm forward. Again, notice what you can do to create balance here. Lower your left hand back down if it's lifted. And then you can draw your right knee forward to step your foot to the outside or the inside of your hands, coming to the top of the mat. If it feels better to tent onto fingers, you might do so. You might slide your hips forward a little and slide your back knee backwards. Again, that could help if there's a lot of pressure on the back kneecap. Maybe you stay where you are. Maybe you just think about lifting your chest a little, allowing the sternum to lift. Good. And you could stay here, or you could straighten your right leg. Maybe drawing the right toes towards your face. Notice sensation in the right hamstring and the right calf as well. Maybe you stay here if this is what your body needs, or maybe you take a few rocks forward and back, lunging and then re-straightening the right leg. Good. And the next time you're forward, you can stay there. You could stay with hands down if that feels most stable, or maybe climb your hands onto your right leg. And then if you feel stable here, you might float your arms up. Breathe into the body. Good. If your hands are lifted, slowly lower them back down. Heel toe your right foot back to step your way into tabletop. And then we'll move through cat and cow. Again, you can move at your own pace or you can follow mine. Maybe inhaling to lift the heart upward and exhaling to round the spine. One more time, inhaling, the heart can lift, coming into cow. Exhaling into cat, round your spine. We'll make our way up to standing from here. So you could come up to standing any way you choose. If you'd like to come through downward facing dog, you can tuck your toes, lift your hips, creating that triangular shape with your body. If you're in downward facing dog, you can walk your toes forward to your hands, tiptoeing them all the way up to your hands. Through soft knees, roll up to standing one vertebra at a time. The head might be last to arrive. Once you're standing, if you have a blanket underneath you or something that you're using as padding underneath your knees, you can set it aside for now. We'll come into mountain pose. So your feet can ground about hips width apart, maybe even a little wider if that creates more stability in your body. Look down to your toes and see if you can lift all 10 of your toes off the mat. Good. Fan your toes out wide And then maybe press each of the toes back downward. Notice where your weight is. You might shift forward into the toes and then rock back into the heels. Good, and you might do that just 2 or so more times. And then you can center your weight. So your weight is right in between the toes and the heels. Notice what's happening with your kneecaps. If you're locking them out, can you soften them a little? And then can you lift your heart, allowing the collarbones to spread? As you do, can the crown of your head lift a little taller? Good. Maybe you close your eyes for a moment, allowing yourself to ground into this shape. And you could stay here if you'd like, or you could move through a few half sun salutations. So as you inhale, you can reach your arms up. And then as you exhale, you can fold over your legs. You can take your hands to your shins as you inhale, creating a long spine. Good. And then as you exhale, you can fold your way back down. Anchor through the feet to rise back up. Arms can lift. And then draw your hands back into your heart as you exhale. We'll move a few more times like that. If my counting or if my cueing is too fast or slow, you can always move a little slower. As you inhale, reach your arms up. As you exhale, fold back down. Climb your hands onto your shins, creating a long spine with your breath in. And then fold as you exhale. Rise up to standing, arms can lift. Exhale your hands into your heart. And again, if my breathing doesn't work for your body, for your movement, you don't have to follow the breathing either. So you might just follow the movement. We'll take another few rounds. Arms reach up with your breath in. Fold back down as you exhale. Halfway lift with your breath in. Fold as you exhale. Rise up, arms lift. Hands into your heart as you exhale. Reach up to the ceiling with your breath in. Fold over your legs as you exhale. Halfway lift with your inhale. Fold back down as you exhale. Rise up to standing, arms can lift. Hands into your heart as you exhale. Good, last one. Reach your arms up with your breath in. Fold back down with your exhale. Climb your hands to your shins as you breathe in. And then soften back down as you exhale. Rise up, arms lift. Draw your hands into your heart. And then come back into mountain pose. Arms come alongside your body. Good. Connect one hand and then the second hand into the center of your heart. Maybe your eyes close, your gaze softens again. And notice your breath. Blink your eyes back open. Lower your arms alongside you. And from your mountain pose at the top of the mat, step your left foot back. Keep your right foot forward. And then reach your arms up to the ceiling. Good. From here, you can start to bend into your right knee, coming into a warrior one. And it doesn't have to be a really deep bend of the knee. It can be as much or as little as feels good in your body, or as feels sensational in the body. You could gaze straight in front of you, or if it feels okay for the neck, you might lift your gaze slightly upward. Notice how the shape feels in your body. Good, and then you could stay here in stillness, or you might straighten through your front leg, reaching the arms a little higher. And then you might rebend into your knee. As you do, you could take goalpost arms, cactus arms. So shoulder blades come in, heart comes forward. And then we'll take that a few times, maybe inhaling to reach the arms back up. And then maybe exhaling to bend the elbows, bend the front knee. Maybe inhaling to straighten the leg and arms. Maybe exhaling to bend. Just a few more. Maybe it's an inhale to straighten. And exhale to bend the elbows and the knee. Last one, inhale to straighten. Exhale to re-bend into your warrior. Good. Straighten through your front leg, reach your arms up. And then pivot your toes towards the long edge of your mat to come all the way into warrior one towards the back of the mat. So pivot your left toes so that they face towards the back of the mat. You might heel toe the foot a little wider so that it comes towards the left edge of your mat. And then the right foot might come a little wider as well. And then you can bend into your left knee. You might reach your arms upward. Notice how the second side feels. Your gaze might be forward again. You might gently float the gaze upward. Feel any sensation in the legs, any sensation in the arms. You can stay here in stillness, or you could inhale to straighten the leg. Arms could lift a little higher. And then maybe it's an exhale to bend the elbows and re-bend into the left knee. Maybe it's an inhale to re-straighten, lifting. And an exhale to re-bend the elbows and knee. Inhale, the arms lift, the leg straightens. Exhale to re-bend. Good, maybe two more, reaching up with your breath in. And then re-bending as you exhale. Reaching up as you breathe in. Re-bending with your exhale. Reach up with your breath in, and then pivot your way back around towards the long edge of your mat, all the way forward. And then you can take a lot of little steps, maybe baby steps, or maybe one big one, to come back into mountain pose, standing at the front of your mat. Good. We'll take warrior two from here. So keep your right foot forward, and then step your left foot back. And then this time you might make your stance just a little wider. So the left foot can come farther back towards the back edge of the mat. The right foot might come a little farther forward. You can bend into your right knee. And you can reach your arms into a T shape. And notice how it feels to rest the arms here. Maybe noticing if this shape feels more or less challenging than the first warrior. And it doesn't matter if one is more challenging than the other. Can you allow yourself to land here for a few moments? Noticing sensation. Then you could stay here, or you might straighten the leg. Maybe you reach your arms overhead. And then you might re-bend into your warrior two. Arms can lift, your leg can straighten, maybe breathing in as you do. Then maybe it's an exhale as you re-bend into warrior two. Just a few more rounds of breath like that. Maybe inhaling to straighten. Maybe exhaling to bend. Maybe it's an inhale to straighten. Maybe an exhale to bend. Last one, straighten with your breath in. And then bend as you exhale. Good. Straighten your leg. Pivot towards the back of the mat. So left toes move backward. You might heel toe the left foot a little wider. You might heel toe the right foot a little wider. And then bend into your left knee. Reach your arms into a T shape, coming into warrior two to your second side. Notice how the second side feels. You might spread through each of your toes, creating a strong base. You might let the crown of your head lift a little taller. And then you could stay here, or you might straighten your left leg as you reach your arms up. And then maybe re-bend to come back into your warrior. Inhaling to straighten, arms might lift. Exhaling to re-bend into warrior two. Lift, lengthen as you breathe in. Re-bend with your exhale. Two more. Breathe in to straighten. Re-bend as you exhale. Straighten your legs. Maybe you reach your arms up. Dial all 10 of your toes towards the long edge of your mat this time. Your legs can be as wide as feels stable in your body. You can take your hands to your hips and then allow your tailbone to move downward as your heart lifts upward. Good. You could stay here with an upright spine, or you could fold your way down over both of your legs. If you fold down, notice where your feet are placed, and you could scoot your feet wider or take them closer together if that feels better in the body. Notice where your hands are placed. They could either be reaching forward or they could be back in between the legs, or maybe something else. And then notice what's happening with your head, with your neck. If it feels better to stay onto tinted fingers and have your gaze down to the mat, you could do so. That creates a little less of a dip of the head. If you'd prefer to allow the head to become heavy, you might let the muscles of the neck relax. And you might nod your head yes and shake it no a few times. Good. Whichever variation you've chosen, know that you can shift. We'll take just a few rounds of breath here. And then wherever you are, you can come onto tinted fingers, so just the tips of your fingers down into the mat. Ground through your feet. Draw your heels slightly in, your toes slightly out, and then crawl your hands back towards your body to come all the way up to stand. Good. Reach your arms up to the ceiling. And then draw your hands into your heart. Reach your arms up to the ceiling. And draw your hands into your heart. One last time, reach your arms up to the ceiling. And draw your hands into your heart. Good. Gaze forward to the front of your mat towards your right foot. And then maybe take a few baby steps or one big step to come all the way back into mountain pose. Grounding tall. Standing into your feet. Maybe the eyes close. And notice how the legs feel. From where you are, spread through your toes once again. And then draw your shoulders up to your ears. Good, and then drop them back down. And that movement could be big or it could be a roll, it could be slow. Draw your shoulders up to your ears. And then you could roll them back or drop them down. Good. Two more times like that. Lift your shoulders up to your ears. And then drop them down. Good. Last time, draw your shoulders up. And then drop them down. And then this time we will just roll the shoulders out. Take a few rolls of your shoulders up, back, and around. Up, back, and around. Good. Just a few more. Then settle your shoulders back. Shift your weight into your left foot. And then bend your right knee so the right kneecap points out towards the side. You might draw your right heel in towards the left ankle. So you might stay here for tree, or you might climb the foot a little higher, maybe up to the calf. You might climb the foot up to the inside of the thigh. But notice what feels best in your body, what feels like the optimal option for you. Notice where you can maintain balance. Your arms could be alongside you if that feels most stable, or maybe you invite your hands into your heart. Maybe you take your hands overhead. If you do, notice how that shifts your balance. Find a few breaths here. And then lower your hands. Step out of your tree. You can give your legs a shake out. And if that felt really challenging to balance, you might take a wall this time for the second side. So we'll ground into the right foot. Bend your left knee, turning the left knee outward. You can draw your left heel to the inside of the right ankle. You might stay here. Again, you could climb the leg a little higher up to the calf. Maybe it comes to the inside of the thigh. So anywhere besides the kneecap. Find your option. And again, if that's balancing with your hand on the wall, maybe you do so. If your hand is on the wall, maybe you just make it a little lighter and a little lighter. Hands could also be alongside the body, maybe to the heart, maybe even overhead. A few breaths in and out the nose. And it's okay to wobble and come back into this shape. But when you're ready to release, you can lower your arms, step out of your tree, and give your legs another shake out. Good. We'll take chair pose. So for chair, you can keep your feet about hips width apart. And then as if you're sitting into an imaginary chair behind you, take a bend of your knees. Maybe you just soften them a little. Your hands might come into your heart. Look down to your feet. See if you can lift all 10 of your toes off the mat, just as we did earlier in mountain pose. Can you spread your toes out wide, fanning them? And then maybe you place each toe back down to the mat, but keeping the weight a little bit into your heels. Good. Maybe your hands stay into your heart. If you feel stable, maybe your arms reach up. If that creates any discomfort for the shoulders, you can keep your hands a little lower. Good. And then press through your feet, come back to standing. If you need to shake your legs out, you can shake them out. Then we'll just take one more chair pose just like that. So feet about hips width apart. Soften your knees. Hands could come into your heart. Maybe they reach forward. Maybe they reach up. Notice what feels best in the body. Good. When you're ready to come back up to standing, press through the feet. Draw your arms alongside you. You can shake out your legs. From here, any way that you'd like to make your way down to a seat, you can do so. So maybe you climb your hands down your legs and then crawl out onto hands and knees. You can extend your legs forward of you. And then from your seat with your legs extended forward, you might give your knees a gentle pedal, pedal, pedal out. So just bouncing the knees up and down a few times. You might take your hands around your kneecaps and then give the kneecaps a little warmth. So just circling around the kneecaps without applying much pressure. And then circle around the kneecaps in the opposite direction. You might be hearing my dog bark. Good. If you have a blanket to sit on, you might sit down on top of it Again, a towel, a jacket could work as well. So if you have one of those things, it just creates a little more height for the spine. If not, you don't have to worry about it. You can keep your right leg extended forward, and then you can cross your left foot to the outside of the right leg. Ground your left fingertips into whatever you're touching behind you. So if it's the mat, if it's the floor, if it's your blanket, it could be that. Then you can reach your right arm up to the ceiling. Good. And before we twist, can you notice sensation through the spine? Can you notice the length of your spine? Can you allow the spine to become just a little longer? And once you've created that length through your spine, you might start to twist from here towards the left side. Your right hand can come to the outside of your left knee. Your gaze might come over your left shoulder if that feels okay to do so for the neck. But you can imagine this twist coming from the base of your spine. So from the base of the spine, from your seat, allowing the spine to lengthen, maybe inviting the ribs to rotate, maybe inviting the shoulders to rotate, and then maybe inviting the gaze to rotate back behind you. Find a few breaths here. Begin to slowly unwind your upper body back through center. Extend your left leg forward. And then step your right foot to the outside of the left leg. So the right foot can be grounded down onto the mat. The toes can spread. You can ground your right fingertips back behind you. And then your left arm might reach up to the ceiling. Good. And then before twisting again, can you become a little longer? So your seat can press down. Crown of the head can lift. Maybe your left fingertips lift a little. And then from this length, you might start to rotate, maybe taking your left hand to the outside of the right knee. Maybe twisting from the base of the spine. So maybe inviting the ribs to rotate, inviting the chest, the shoulders to rotate, inviting the gaze to come back behind you. But always stopping before you feel any sense of pain, any sense of discomfort. Begin to unwind your upper body back through center. Step your right foot back down to the mat. And then extend your right leg forward. Bend your left knee so the left foot comes to the inside of the right leg. And then you can tint your fingers into the mat so they come right behind the hips. And then again, you might create a little bit of length through your spine here before we come into this shape. So feel your seat press down. Feel the crown of your head lift. And can you keep a nice long low back as you maybe start to walk your hands forward? If that feels like too much for the right hamstring, you might stay upright, or you might fold forward, but maybe just bend your right knee. So this is a little more gentle for the right hamstring. If it does feel okay to keep the right leg straight, grounded, you could do so. If you're folding, you can invite your shoulders to soften. Maybe there's a bit of spreading in between the shoulder blades. Maybe the chin drops down to the chest. And it doesn't matter where your hands touch. It's okay if they touch somewhere on the leg or they touch the mat alongside you. It's not about how the shape looks in your body, it's about how it feels. So, can you notice sensation? Inviting awareness into the right leg, inviting awareness into the experience of this shape. Again, noticing when sensation becomes too much, when it becomes anything like pain. That's always a cue to back out. Good. From here, you can start to walk your hands back toward your body. Lengthen your spine back up. Take your hand behind your right leg to give it a bend. Extend your left leg forward. And take the right sole of the foot to the inside of the left extended leg. Before folding, again, we'll create length through the body. Tint your fingers into the mat or into the earth alongside you. Lengthen your spine, lengthen the crown of the head upward. Again, can you keep this length in the low back as you walk your hands forward and soften the upper back? Your shoulders might spread. Chin might melt down towards the chest. Again, know that you have variations here. So if it feels best to stay upright, you could be upright. If it feels best to bend the left knee, you could bend the left knee. So each of us might look different taking this shape. And that's okay to look different in this shape. Again, it's more about the sensation and how, than the appearance of the shape itself. Slowly from here, begin to roll your spine back upright. Take your left hand behind the back of the knee to give it a bend. Keep your right knee bent, keep your left knee bent, and set the soles of your feet together. And you can choose where you want to place your feet. So the heels might be close towards you, or you might slide your heels away from your body. Notice what feels most optimal. You could keep your fingertips alongside you, maybe lengthening out through the spine. Or again, if you would like to soften forward, you could walk your hands forward. You could spread across the shoulder blades and drop your chin down to your chest. Notice where you feel sensation here. Again, notice where your edge is. Notice if you can be before the place that feels painful, before pain, in a place that feels sensational, that feels interesting to explore. In a place that you can invite your breath into fully. And we'll move slowly to unwind out of this shape. Start to crawl your hands back towards your body to lengthen your spine up. Take your hands behind your knees to slowly guide them in. Step your feet out a little wider. Take your hands behind you, draw your shoulders in and lift your heart. So finding a little bit of a counter pose here, a little bit of a counter stretch. Shoulders draw in, heart lifts. You might stay here, you might swish your shins from side to side. Maybe breathing down the legs, breathing into the hips. Then we'll begin to make our way into our final rest. So you have a couple of options. If you prefer to stay seated, you could come into a seat and rest there. If you'd like to lie down on your mat, you could lie all the way down. In traditional Shavasana, your legs come out towards the edges of the mat and the feet flop out. And the arms come alongside the body, palms face up. But if that's not comfortable to take, you could be in a different shape. Maybe you're on one side, or maybe on your belly. So you can take a few moments to guide yourself into a position that creates ease. Maybe taking any final movements, any final fidgets that your body needs along the way. As you're making your way into rest, continue to invite awareness into the body. Notice what you can do to create a little more ease. Maybe that's fidgeting the body a little until you find grounding, until you find comfort. Or maybe it's inviting awareness into the breath. Maybe inviting your breath to become a little longer once again, a little lighter, a little lower down into the belly. Inviting the breath to soothe the body. Invite your awareness into the thoughts. Noticing where your mind is. Inviting the mind to continue to calm itself. And as we're in this transition towards rest, I'll read a very short quote by Nayira Wahid. You can feel free to tune me in or not. If the ocean can calm itself, so can you. We are both salts and water mixed with air. We'll be in this resting shape for about the next 4 or 5 minutes. Know that you don't have to stay still. If your body needs to fidget, you can. But notice if you can invite your mind, your body toward a place of stillness. And I'll let you know when our resting time is up. And if you'd like to continue resting here a little longer, you're more than welcome to stay and rest as long as you need. But if you'd like to invite your body out of your resting shape, you can begin to make small movements with the body. Maybe inviting the toes to wiggle, the fingers to spread. If you're lying on your back, you can bend both knees, rock your knees onto your left side, and then begin to slowly climb your way up to seated. Take your time arriving to a seat. Once you're there, you can draw your hands into your heart, bringing the palms together to touch. You might keep your eyes closed or your gaze soft for these last few moments of our time together. Noticing how your body feels, how the mind feels. You can bow your chin down to your chest in gratitude for this practice and this virtual space we have together. I thank you all so much for joining me for class. Hands to Heart Center would also like to thank Boston Public Library for this class. I know they'll be doing a few more of these free streaming classes, so stay tuned for more. My name is Lacey. It was my pleasure to practice with all of you, even though I can't see you. It's my pleasure to teach you today. Thank you for joining me. And that's it. Have a wonderful rest of your day.